Yo, what's up? Just checking to see if the editing and the video and the audio is working. Let me just make sure. Yep. There we go. So let me, because last time I went like 30 minutes without even having any audio, and somebody had to tell me they had to start all over again. You know what I'm saying? So that's pretty funny. But welcome back. This is the rebirth of the word. You know what I'm saying? All I do is share knowledge coming straight from the books. I don't share my opinions, nor do I share my theories. I just share what I've read. Believe it or not, most people get mad at me because I just share what they said they read from a book. Like, I give you an example. Some people will say, let's see, what's book that? The Egyptian Book of the Dead. I'm looking at it right now. There's a couple times when people say, hey, I read the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and they'll say something about it. And I'm like, oh, where does it say that at? Because I must have missed that, trying to be curious, trying to be, paying attention to what they're saying. They're like, oh, well, I heard somebody else said that they read it from there. So you never actually read what the book actually says, or a translator that translated the text. You don't know what they actually said. So to me, you know what I'm saying, I just read from the books, and I get more flack from people for reading from the book or the text that they say they actually read than just sharing my opinions. I don't share my opinions, but we got the thing up. I got to give a shout out to Lil Vibe. His music is absolutely amazing, and I'm about to play a song that I love the most, Ambitions. He supports me a lot. I support him. His music is wonderful. I mean, if you like ancient history, if you like spiritual, if you like philosophy, if you like this type of stuff, that's the guy, the type of person you need to follow. Ambitions, Lil Vibe, right on Spotify and stuff like that. So I'm gonna play a track right now because, I feel like the only way to get information out there is by getting it out there by any means necessary, whether it's by poetry, music, speaking, discussions, arguments, whatever way you decide. And I know a lot of people will argue with the fact of arguments, but let's just make a point. Arguments are good. You just have to take your feelings out of it. Okay. If somebody calls you an idiot, don't take it personal. If you take it personal, that's on you. That's it. What you going to do after that? Ignore them for that? You want to ignore the person. They might have the best information out there, but because they called you an idiot, you no longer want to follow them. Well, guess what? You're never going to get that best information in there. I guarantee you, if you was actually able to talk to some of the people that you look up to the most, I guarantee you they will call you an idiot. Why? Because they have done it before so many different times. I don't have to call out names. You know who you are. I've seen it, witnessed it, and even experienced it. Okay, so I'm gonna play this track because this track is good. Let's get it going, because Lil Vibe be having it going. I can't even front. This music be just hyping me up in the morning time. Like, let's get it. Let's get it, Lil Vibe. Let's get it. Yeah. Come on. Let's see. Ambitions on my mind and I can't let them go. Nope. I stay up on my grind, almost sleeping on the floor. Came up from the pennies, now we stacking nickels in the tro. On my dresser, yes, I got the pressure building on the low. Hit the joint and then I blow it, now I'm spinning around the globe. Put my name up in the bleachers and my people in the dough. Rappers scared to take a beach and know I eat them with the flow. I don't need them, I've been scheming with the preacher and the post. Shady demons while I'm eating, no hell, I don't need no poke. Pick a season, now I'm seasoning in the visa on the boat. Check the please it, cause they sucking on my dogs off on the low. Don't be reaching when you see me, PTSD like pop smoke. I'm a joke, came up broke, remember sleeping on the floor. Hella broke, hella niggas steady hating on the floor. Now they broke, and I'm packing out arenas with the shows. Going deeper in the Sutherland, saluting to the soul, yo. Woo! To the soul, yo. Salute to the soul, yo. Oh, yeah. I got them ambitions, y'all. Ambitions on my mind and I can't let them go. I've been thinking about these things since a tender age of 4. I would know I would grow to be a father and a goat. Sleeping woke, tipping toeing through the valley of the ghost. I can post with my lady going shopping for a boat. Take a flow from the shop like I'm Katie with the post. To the bride, finishing
Mortal Kombat, little bro. Like a boss, I was built to win, shining on the host. Custom bottle, golden diamonds, stay together on the rope. Getting better every second, been improving on my goals. Been a veteran, I'm moving through the obstacles and hope. Falling deeper in the dream, spinning planted in my soul. For chasing cream and staying meaner with the flow. Than I ever been in heaven. I'm rhyming like the Pope. Got the medicine for remedies afflicting on your soul. Falling keeper in the Sutherland, saluting to the soul, yo. To the soul, yo.
Them ambitions.
So, yo. Oh.
If you ain't got ambitions, you ain't got none. I'm just letting you know right now. No matter what you do, just go out there and do it. People gonna hate. That's all right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He just keep going. He just keep going. Hold on. He just keep going. Hold on. He just keeps going. Hold up. We got to get one more. We got to get one more in here. Just one more before I start this book. You know what I'm saying? Because there's levels to this shit. Y'all just don't understand. When you out here motivating people to read, that's what matters.
Hey, yeah. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, a rock heavy metal, whoa. Yeah. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour. We working on building the whole empire. The signs in the stars, mine is on Mars. Nigga look Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man. I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big bang, man. Need to go dark. Never high fashion in the last days. I don't give a damn, man. Letting me take. I don't give a damn what a hater gon' say. Purchase your ass about a fool get paid. Get revenue every time, make a wave. Red up like the water, cause we making these waves. Red up like the water with a game like slaughter. Really on my mind live, I'm around high. Laughing to the bank while I'm stacking out these dollars. Getting real high while I'm pulling that's all I. Putting numbers on the board like it was a high. Praying to the pancake like it was a high. Got the studio doing numbers like a trap out. In the backwoods, been a corner with the trap out. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour. We don't building the whole damn empire. The signs and the stars, mine is on Mars. Nigga like Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man. I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big payment, need a big fall. Need a big boom, say make it go boom. Abracadabra, I light up the room. Bury the written, I leave it in tune. Wetting my whistle while humming this tune. Hitting the high notes since I get some fluke. Take the mask off, I'ma do what it do. Stacking the stacks like it's Scooby to do. Going with the day like it's Nebula Q. Up in my whip, got that pew pew pew. Said to me quick, get that COD2. This time around, disobeying the rules. Riots and new ones and breaking cocoons. Smoking papaya, it look like cartoons. Off with the zoom while I'm talking on Zoom. Hitting new levels, the come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour. We working on building the whole damn empire. The signs and the stars, mine is on Mars. Nikola Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man. I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Hitting new levels, the come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour. We working on building the whole damn empire. The signs and the stars, mine is on Mars. Nikola Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man. I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car. Need a big house, big watch, big car. This the last verse, no, I'ma go hard. Gripping this mic while dropping these bars. Got the double R, ain't talking Rick Ross. Talking Rolls Royce while I'm drinking my boss. Got massage skis, they massage my balls. I got no limits, cause love is the law. Everything else is just more of a facade. Black out the sun like it's Persians and Sparta. With the line, he got Hakuna Matata. Making away from my wife and my daughter. Heart that got colder from all of the trauma. I'm really not feeling just like a monster. Auto suggestion, I'm on autopilot. Blowing the green just like it was vomit. Without my jaws like bars with promise. Hitting new levels of come on the bezel, the 9 on the iron, the rock heavy metal, the fire and the power. I grind by the hour. We working on building the whole damn empire. The signs and the stars, mine is on Mars. Nikola Tesla, lightning bars. Ain't down broke, man. I'ma go hard. Need a big house, big watch, big car.
I ain't gonna lie, that goes hard. That's go hard. I hope y'all was able to hear that music. That's Lil Vibe, yo. He's on the screen. Yo, listen to his music. It is wonderful. You don't get the chance to hear good music like that nowadays. You know what I'm saying? So I enjoy it. I know his followers are low. Get his followers up. Get his music out there. Yo, share his stuff. Look, listen to me. The only way to support each other is by doing it. You ain't got to do nothing else. You know what I'm saying? You ain't got to do nothing else. You ain't got to do nothing. What takes when you out there doing what you do and you supporting the next person, what happened? What's wrong with that? You know what I'm saying? So That's what I love. You know, I love his music. I play his music. I mean, I got 210s in the back seat of my Chevy Silverado, be hitting hard as hell. You know what I'm saying? I turn that on and it be beating. But this is the book that I'm gonna be talking about. Godfrey Higgins, one of my favorite historians, authors. He wrote these books in 1733. The first one, he actually wrote a couple of books, and I'll go through all of them. I think I already went through one of them before on my YouTube channel, Celtic Druids. I'm not sure if I didn't, then I'll be going through it. But anyway, this one is Anacalypsis V1, and it's an attempt to draw aside the veil of the Saitic Isis, or an inquiry into the origin of language, nations, and religions. Now, I've been told by a couple of people, Bruce Fenton, okay, that goofy dude out there, you know, and he was on Ancient Aliens. And I actually done a podcast discussion, 3-hour discussion with him, which you can find on my YouTube. But he has this book called Into Africa Theory, right? And he actually called me an Afrocentric type of person, somebody that thinks that everything came from Africa, right? Now, in 1733, we know that the Africans that were in America, that were slaves, didn't have the opportunity to read books that they wanted to read, right? They couldn't read books. Why? Because they were slaves. So in 1733, when Godfrey Higgins was writing this book, he was writing this book saying, hey, all these guys that we know of around this world have skin color like mine. I'm Black, German, and Turkish. And I did an article on this describing myself, and it's coming up. Now, y'all gonna like this article. But anyway, I described myself like that for about 30 years. Some of you going to be like, why would you describe yourself like that? And it's explained in the article. You go to my website, rebirthoftheword.com, and you're going to see what I'm talking about. But my pops is African-American. About 30 years later, after I was born, I found out that, or much more actually, after that, I found out that my African-American heritage comes from Nigeria. Okay. My mom is German. Always knew that she was German. Always knew that she was Turkish, right? I speak a little German. And, you know, I still remember all the things that my mom taught me, my pops taught me, right? So looking at my mom and my pop being dark skinned, my mom being white, you know, I was always like, wow, that's fascinating. You know, two different people. And then growing up, being called the N-word and this, that, and the third and all this other stuff, I was like, man, why is there so many people that hate my skin color? And I know I'm probably going to lose some viewers and all this other stuff, but I'm just telling you my life journey. This is how I came to reading about this book, right? So I was like, oh, I was confused about all this stuff, right? Well, you know, you see my hair. You know, I got really long hair. It actually goes down to my shoulders, or past my shoulders. Actually, it's really long. You know what I'm saying? I used to wear before I was in the military. I didn't really have long hair. The last time I cut my hair was when my son was born, and he just turned 6 years old. So, my wife asked me to cut it so many times and blah blah blah. But when I was in the military, I used to cut it every day or every Friday at a certain time, every time, right? But I was considered Black here in the United States of America. So I always wanted to know about Black. And this is described in my article and stuff like that. But my point about all this is that Godfrey Higgins describes these guys having what I like to say melanated skin. I don't like to say Black because not everybody with this skin color considers them Black, right? Dominicans, you know, some Puerto Ricans. There are even Mexicans that look just like me. Matter of fact, in my article, I was done so many missions in Afghanistan and Iraq that I hung out with some of the coolest people out there that look just like me. Now, my mom is Turkish, yes, and I know that area is considered Mesopotamia. Iraq is considered Sumer. The Sumerians are known as what? The black-headed people, which is the first identity of a race, which is explained in my article. So that's why I like to always try to, you know, keep the thing going. Godfrey Higgins wrote these books in 1733. Now, like I always say, I always come with sources. I don't come with opinions. I don't come with my theories, even though I have plenty of them. I don't share them because I can tell you an opinion or a theory right now. 5 minutes from that, I can flip that theory and opinion in a matter of seconds because I read too much. I really read too much. Okay, here we go. Oh, look, I got my homie in here, Kalani Star. What's up, homie? Yo, he's writing a book. Be on the lookout for that. Yo, that dude, right? If you think I read books, and I know a lot of people on X thinks that I read books, Kalani Star reads way more than me. like way more. He has books that I'm trying to get the level on. So I'm telling you, check him out. You know, let me right here, Kalani Star. You know, Kalani Star presents Hood Scholarships. One of the best videos. And me and him met because of simple just wanting to learn something. We listen to each other. We text each other all the time. You know, I gotta give him a shout out. Yo, look out for him for his book. But Godfrey Higgins, one of my first books that I really got deep into. And matter of fact, let me give you a little story. Me and Kalani, the whole reason why we really linked up was because I was trying to learn how to do this radio show. So I don't have nothing much else to do but present what I learned. And it took a long time. And me and him have done 2 or 3 discussions on my YouTube. I promote them a lot. One of my favorites that we did was Jacob's Ladder. I was reading from Robert Alter, who actually translated Hebrew text. And Kalani actually put me on Jeff Benner, which later gave me the opportunity to actually have a discussion with Jeff Benner. And of course, Jeff Benner is a very busy man. So I'm still trying to get another discussion with him. But I'm telling you guys, you know, there's so much information out there that not one person can read one book. Like I can read 100 books. Those 100 books can be based off of one book. And guess what? There are opinions that's on there. So what I like to do is I like to show my ideas and where I learned my stuff. Here's Daniel Hopkins right here. He said Godfrey was great for sure, but he wasn't a philologist, although he depends heavily on etymology. Now that's what I like to do. I like to look at dictionaries. So I always, man, y'all just don't understand. I keep dictionaries by me. I keep a thesaurus by me. You know, I know the way I speak is that. Hold on, let's see. That light's kind of bright. There we go. I know it's kind of. I know I speak different than I write. But that's only because I use Grammarly. You know what I'm saying? I try to sound professional. I ain't professional at all. Not at all. I just read. I know what words say and this, that, and the third. But, you know, pulling out these dictionaries and an etymology dictionary, etymolonline.com is one of my favorite sources. Just sitting here getting this information, anybody can come up with anything. Like, for example, civilization, right? Anybody can come up with an idea of civilization. Margaret Mead said that a civilization started about 15,000 years ago because I think it was Margaret Mead, if I'm not mistaken, because a femur and a bone was healed, and it was healed because somebody stayed around and helped that individual. But you know, let's get back to Godfrey Higgins. So he wrote these books in 1733. Now, anybody that has what I like to say melanated skin, not black, because not everybody like to be called black, Dominicans, Haitians, Puerto Ricans that have skin color like me. So I like to say melanated. They say that these guys came from melanated. And when I read the Popol Vuh and see the descriptions of the Maya Codex and so on and so forth, I got the books in the library and stuff like that. I like to call my room a library and stuff like that. Now, if you think I got a library, I'm telling you, Kalani Star, I'm telling you right now, I always take pictures of every book that you share because eventually I didn't get the book. But I read this book so many times from Kissinger Legacy reprints, and it's actually, I need to get it fixed up, rebounded, but that's for another day. But I'm just going to read the exact tabs. Now, like I always say, the tabs is what I do. Now, this is a book that's, let's see, I think this is, let me see, 700. It's over 700 pages, and it's not 700 pages at font 12. 704. It's 700 pages. Let me see. Let's see if I can show you. 700 pages of small print. Small print. And I'm talking about small print. This is not even crazy. Now, Daniel Hopkins says the history of dark skin degradation has been whitewashed from Indian history. The Buddhists were derogatorily called black by Brahmins. I can't argue that. Dr. Supreme Understanding, that's his name that he chose. If anybody does their research, they ain't going to sit there and make fun of his name because he has degrees and he has credentials. So you sit there talking about somebody's name, that's the wrong one. But he actually talks about how he has a book called The Black Gods, and it's very interesting. He gives a description of these gods and so on and so forth. And the actual pictographic script along with the actual picture itself, just not the pictographic script, but you know, the drawings and all this other stuff, depending on how you want to call it. It does say that, but I'm going to read the first one right here. Okay, because I think it's interesting. It says it may be necessary to inform some person who may read this book that in the Dark Ages, the Jews, in order to fix the pronunciation and the meaning of their Hebrew to their own fancy at that time, invented a system called the Masoretic points, which they substantiated in place of the vowels, leaving the latter in the text, but where they could not make them stand for consonants and thus form new syllables, leaving them silent and without meaning. The belief in the antiquity of this system has now become with them a point of faith. Of course, here the use of reason ends. On this account, I shall add to the appendix to this volume. Now, this is what he's talking about. Let me see if I can find. Okay, he says right here, because this is the point right here. It's footnotes. In my study of Hebrew, also a considerable time, I may say, was wasted on the Masoretic points, which at last I found were a mere invention of the modern Jews and not of the smallest use. Now, if anybody knows anything that can verify some information on me on this, is Kalani Star. So if you heard that, homie, tell me what you think of that. I think that's pretty interesting. Here's another tab that I tabbed up. It says, it is true that properly speaking, neither person ought to have been called Solomon, but as the same name of a person was originally meant in both cases, they ought both to be represented by the same letters. Now let me go find where that footnote was in this book, because that was one. Okay, here we go. It says, thus we find instead of Solomon, Salimon, and he spells it Soleimon and Suleimon instead of David or Daoud, which is Daoud. So David is also Daoud, and as the learned Dr. Dorn calls it, Davudze, Davudze, and instead of Jacob, Yokub. Now, this is where it gets interesting to me. Yo, I know Kalani, listen to me. A lot of y'all don't know who Yokub is. Now, this this is this individual, right? And I wish, I do this, I read these books and read these texts based off of trying to go back and refresh my memory. So I don't go back and read all these and then do these videos. I want to be just as shocked as you and remember what I know from the past. Now, if you know who Yokub is supposed to be this black scientist, right? With this big ass head, right? Elongated type head. Now, when we think about these ancient gods and all these other, see, so look right here. So he know what I'm talking about. I told you, the big-headed scientist. He's a big black-headed scientist, right? Type long, elongated type heads. Now, for nothing, for no jokes and nothing put to the side, I'm just gonna be honest with you. When these ancient aliens and all these other individuals talk about these gods, guess what they referencing? Elongated big heads, right? This is not even a joke. Like, I'm not even playing. Like, this is dead ass serious. But this is exactly how Yokub is described, okay? Now, I took this down. Now, in 1733, okay, there was an individual known as Yokub. So since 1733, we know of an individual as Yokub, which is also known as Jacob in the Bible, okay? Now, I'm not playing any games. I don't know how accurate, how true. I'm not the expert. I'm not the PhD recipient. I haven't went to school. I haven't graduated from college. I don't know this stuff. But for a man named Godfrey Higgins, who studied for 6 to 10 hours a day, reading and writing and researching, tells me since 1733, and everybody tells me I'm Afrocentric, but I'm reading a book that my ancestors wasn't even allowed to do back in that time frame. You got to be kidding me. So when I read this information from a man that says that Jacob is also known as Yokub, and I open up his book and I'm educating myself as a person should be, right? And I read, it is true that properly speaking, neither person ought to have been called Solomon, but as the same name of a person was originally meant in both cases, they ought to be both be represented by the same letters. Now, Thus, we find instead of Solomon, and I told you the name Suleiman, instead of David, Daoud, and as the learned Dr. Dorn. So now you got to go back and look who Dr. Thorn is. D-O-U-N. I'm sorry, D-O-R-N. I messed that all up. D-O-R-N. You got to look up who that is and why he thinks that he's Yoku. Calls it Davudsi. And instead of Jacob, Yakub, when the same name was clearly meant in the original to be what we call Jacob. So Jacob and Yakub is the same. So now Yakub is the individual that created white people. A lot of people gonna be like, what? Tell me they ain't said. Yeah. I'm just telling you what this dude told me through his book from me reading and trying to gain knowledge. Now, this is interesting because, like I said, this is in the, I didn't say this earlier, but this is in the preface. Okay. The preface of this book. 1733. Look up who Godfrey Higgins is. Look him up. A lot of people ain't going to like what he say because guess what? They're going to be messed up about the skin color thing. They're not going to care about all the other stuff that he shares. All they're going to do is read a really quick bio, bio of him. I'm just going to research him on Wikipedia, see what Wikipedia says. I'm not going to go read his books to see what he actually said. I'm going to tell you what somebody might be because they may be a racist or, I don't know, just stupid. The point is in 1733, my ancestors wasn't allowed to read this book. Now, 2025, which I actually read these books years later, years before that, I read these books. Now I'm sharing what is in it. Okay, I'm about to share what's in it. We at the preface. You can't get mad at somebody that's sharing something actually from the book that somebody said they actually read, that they actually know. Okay, you can't do that. I'm giving you the facts. I'm not. The facts is what I've read. That's it. It's not what I think is fact. It's the factual fact is I read it from this book. There's no argument in that, right? Like, can you tell me that I didn't read it from this book? No, I actually read it from the book. So let's get to the official tabs. Okay, it says the modern astronomer, Mr. Bentley, was told by a learned Mohammedan that the lunar zodiacs originally came from a country north of Persia and northwest of China, the evident birthplace of the solar zodiac. So in his opinion, he says, my opinion on this subject is confirmed by that of the learned Professor Playfair, who says it is also to the phases of the moon that we are to ascribe the common division of time into weeks or portions of 7 days, which seems to have prevailed almost over the whole earth. Now, what's interesting is that, and I talk about this a lot, and maybe I should just bring it up because it would be better. Lunar, let me just see. Let's see if I could just find it real. There we go. There we go. Too easy. I found it real quick because I know what I'm already talking about. I ain't got to worry about name, right? So look, here we go. Let's see, because this is where, because remember it said, what was the first thing? Where was it? The lunar zodiacs. Yeah. So, here we go. So let's bring this up because I like to bring facts to the table. So I don't even know how to say this, right? Let me see if I can move this right here. Okay, this is the oldest mathematical artifact in the world. Okay, and it's from afrolegends.com. And this is not even a joke. It doesn't have to be from an Afro website, but it's called the Labambo bone. And it's even older than the Shango bone. I know the Shango bone. I talk about the Shango bone, the Shango bone all the time. But it's basically, it goes back, the bone was found on the Eswatini side and it dates from 35,000 BC. It consists of 29 distinct notches or deliberately cut into bamboo's fibula. And here, let me bring this up so you guys can see it. So yeah. So this is the type of information that now like I said, I always talk about the Lishango bone, but some people say this one is older. But the point is that If the oldest description of any lunar zodiac, it would be considered to a time when women were menstruating. This is at least that's for the Ishango bones, but they it's interesting to know that you can go back 35,000 years ago. So I'm not sure how accurate that is, but I do know that the Shango bone does go back, and this is a way for me to look up. So if I'm reading this book and I wanted to go back and say to myself, just trying to educate myself as a person, right? Not trying to um, uh, sit here and say I'm right, you're wrong type thing. Just me saying, hey, what's the oldest lunar calculations or mathematics or whatever the case may be? This might pop up, and I would have to go and do my due diligence and research, right? So here we go. The second tab that I have is the whimsical sign called Capricorn in the Indian zodiac is an entire goat and an entire fish in the Greek and Egyptian. The two are united and form one animal. It has been observed that this itself is a presumptive proof that the Indian is the oldest of the two. And the Indian name, as noticed by Mons Tubaboy, is, as he has justly observed, probably taken from a primeval language, whereas both the Greek and Indians have been formed. Now, I know when I've read from Dr. Supreme Understanding, he likes to relate a lot the Dravidians to the people, to the Ethiopians. So that's pretty interesting. Here we go. The next tab. The bishop says the first astronomers were not calculators, but observers. Now the moon is seen in the zodiac, and her place is obvious to the eye of the most rude observer. The sun is not seen in it, and its place is only known by comparison and calculation. Thus, the division of the zodiac with respect to the moon was probably among the earlier results of attention to the heavenly appearances, and its division with respect to the sun among the results comparatively later. All right, now that's pretty interesting. Now, like I said, I'm just reading from text. So Daniel Hopkins says Jacob is Gupta. Kopta says Joseph is as Kashayapa. Now, I can mess all these up, and I'm telling y'all right now, but y'all see where it says it at, right? And then here we go. We got Morris Cops. Oh, yeah. Appreciate that, Kalani. Hey, check him out, yo. I'm telling you, Kalani is absolutely amazing. I really enjoy his work, and he's writing books. He's writing a couple of books. Daniel Hopkins says in Anacalypsis, Godfrey Higgins argues that given the accuracy of Aristotle's comments on the tribe of Judah and Kalani from India, that Judah is Buddha. Look at that. That's how you get information, y'all. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to sit here and argue who's right and wrong, because I don't know what the next person read or researched. I just know what they sharing with me. Now I can just go back because this is recorded and see what this is accurate. Now let's see. Let's see how accurate this is. Let's see how. Let me go to ChatGPT. Let's just do a quick accuracy test. Let's just do a quick accuracy test. Okay, I want to do this live so people can see that we're doing the accuracy test. We're doing the accuracy test. Wait, let me see. Let me type this in first before. In Anacalypsis, Godfrey. I wish I could. Let's see if I can. No, I can't. I can't do that. I was going to see if I can copy and highlight. It argues that given the accuracy of Aristotle, yeah, I can type quick, so y'all don't have to worry about all that. You know what I'm saying? I ain't one of these old. I am 41 years old, but I do be playing a lot of Mortal Kombat. Hey, if you want to get your ass whooped in some Mortal Kombat, yo, GI_purple_heart. Get your ass whooped up in Mortal Kombat. I be playing that all the time. You know, I play as Scorpion, so, and I don't play like right? Like all these other people, a lot of people get mad on how I play. But here we go. Is this accurate? Let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Hold up. Here we go. It's coming up with the answer. It's coming up with the answer. You see that? Okay. Aristotle did not directly discuss the tribe of Judah or Buddha in his writings. However, Higgins might have interpreted secondhand references from later commentators or sources like. Yeah, so that's right. Mm-hmm. The conclusion, let's just jump to that. The claim that Judah is Buddha based on Aristotle alleged comments in the figure of Kalani is not supported by historical, linguistic, or textual evidence. It is an intriguing idea from a perspective, but it does not hold up. Okay, so yeah, but that's expected, right? That's expected for them to say that type of stuff, right? But for the most part, Godfrey Higgins does use secondary sources. He actually gives them out all the time. Here's another tab. Let's see. It says, what I have said representing the origin of numbers and the importance which I have attached to them must not be considered merely a theory, totally without support from history. For the historical accounts of most nations show us that superstitious regard to numbers was carried to almost inconceivable length. I think the doctrines of Pythagoras may be considered as among the oldest of any which we find in Western world. And whatever they were, thus much we know that they were all founded on numbers. We also know that the astronomical system, which is confessed to have been obtained by him to the east, was the true one. In its features, the revolving motions of the planets, then have we not reason to believe that these very numbers, which we find recurring everywhere in the eastern and western systems, were the same. We find that the numbers 5 and 6 continually recurring in both systems as the basis of the sacred 60, 360, 3,600, and 4,332. I'm sorry, just 432, 4,320, and so on. Then how can we doubt that they became sacred for the reasons which I have given? Now, let me point this out. The Sumerians, now, even though Godfrey Higgins didn't know about the Sumerians and doesn't talk about them, the Sumerians are known for 36, 60, 360, and 3,600. What is it? The sexagesimal system. I know I butchered that, but the sexagesimal system. This is before Godfrey Higgins, like I said, didn't know about the Sumerians. He knew about, and I'll get into what he knew about, but this is just interesting, right? Because he can find a pattern already by himself, right? He already knows this is a pattern, right? So when people like Zacharias Sitchin come up with their idea of 3,600 years, planet Nibiru comes around, it does make it interesting. But how accurate is he, right? And that's for a later argument. A lot of people already know how I feel. But like I said, I'm that type of person that goes back and read books. I don't go looking for books that fit my narrative. If I have a theory about something, I'm going to read a book that counters that theory because I want to hear both sides of the story and I want to make sense of both sides of the story. Even if both sides have just a little bit of accuracy or possibilities, there's no way that I can pick one over the other. I just can't do that. That 1% always takes away from what the 99% will give you. Because guess what? There's an anomaly somewhere. And that anomaly gives you what? Doubts. If you think extraterrestrial came from planet blah, 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 but I'm reading actual ancient text that says they came from the seas, and you use the same text that I use, and I sit here and ask you what sources you use, and you say you use the sources, and I take a picture of that same source that we both are using, and it doesn't say nothing outside planet Earth, but says within the depths of the seas, then who am I to believe? You? Why? I'm not stupid. I'm reading it. I'm not an idiot. You told me something that you thought that I wasn't going to go back and research for myself. I'm not an idiot. I'm not stupid. Okay? If you tell me literally that the Enuma Elish tells me that they came from the planet Nibiru, I'm going to read the Enuma Elish. And when I don't see shit about it, that's on you, not me. That's on you. That's why I say I get so much flack from people just sharing what I've read. That's it. I'm just telling you what I've read. Now tell me, where can I read the same shit that you just read? Now I'll be on your side, because I could be like, oh yeah, this motherfucker told me that, yeah, he read this here at this book, and I'll be like, yeah, I read it too. I mean, shit, I'm stuck now. You know what I'm saying? But I'm just telling you. Tell me where I can read what you read. And I'm just gonna be like, okay, cool. That's it. Ain't gonna be no arguments. I ain't gotta argue after that. Here we go. From the Mr. Davies, I learned that the Welsh bars had a similar alphabet to that of the Irish. He says the antiquarians claim an alphabet of their own, which in all its essential points agrees with that of the bards in Britain. It was Druidical. It was a magical alphabet and used by those Druids in their divinations and their decisions by lot. It consisted of the same radical 16 letters which formed the basis of the Druidical alphabet in Britain. Each of these letters received in its name from some tree or plant of a certain species, regarded as being in some view or other descriptive of its power. And these names are still retained. Let me see. I got a message for somebody. Hold on. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So the Celtic Druids, Godfrey Higgins has a book on that. He tells you where these individuals come from. And I can tell you these individuals were brown skin, black. I mean, I'm not going to argue with you. Tell me where you can, first of all, go read his book and then tell me everything that he got wrong. And let's start there. That's it. Don't tell me he's wrong because you heard me say something. Tell me he's wrong because you read his information. I'm telling you he's right because so far nobody can argue against what he said. So you got to go read his book. I mean, I'm not going. Last year was getting my name out there. I went in no sex spaces. As you've seen, I don't join spaces like that anymore too much or anything like that. There's really no need to do it. Now, here we go. Daniel Hopkins. He's another person that reads Godfrey Higgins. He says, claims that the Druid oak tree associated with Jesus, the son of Budavus, was bound with a cross to bring the tree up with right angles. Now, that's interesting. Now, Daniel Hopkins, do us a favor and find what I said and anything that I said wrong. Let them know. You know what I'm saying? Let them know. On the subject of General Valency observes, and hence this is interesting. Let me bring that back up because he was talking about the oak tree. I'm telling you, I don't plan none of this. All this stuff is just natural. You know, the vibes come in. You know what I'm saying? People who want to know are going to come here and listen, and they're going to share what they share, and you're going to learn what I learned. If you haven't read this book, check this out. It said, on this subject, General Valency observes, and hence the Sephorath tree or tree of numbers of the Kabbalistic Jews. In this tree contained 10 names: Corona, Sapatia, Prudentia, Clementia, Gravitas, Ornatas, Triumphus, Confessolatus, Fundamentum, Regnum. The number 10 seems to have been fixed on because as relating to numerals, 10 and was called perfection, and was from thence all nations began to count anew. For this reason, the Egyptians expressed the number 10 by the word mid. This is perfection, and the Irish call it diag, a word of liking. And for this reason, the Chaldeans formed the word jod, or number 10, by an equilateral triangle, thus looks like a pyramid, which was the symbol of perfection with the Egyptians. The Egyptians doubled the triangle, thus X, and then it became a cross of St. Andrew, or the X, or 10, that is perfection, being the perfect number or the number figures on both the hands. Hence, it stood for the 10 with the Egyptians, Chinese, Phoenicians, Romans, and so on, and is so used with us at this day. The Mexicans also use the same figure in the secular calendars. The Tartars call it Luma, from the Scythian Luma, a hand synonymous to the Jode of the Chaldeans, and thus it became the name of the cross and of the high priest of the Tartars. And with the Irish, Luam signifies the head of the church, and abbot, and so on. Now, I'm about to kick some real knowledge with y'all, because I'm about to go back and talk about all this shit, because this is where it gets deep at. And this is how I sit here and share my information. I'm not somebody to play with. The number attempts to seem to have been fixed on because it, as here we go, relating to numerals, 10 was called perfection. Now, if you read the book of Enoch, there was known as 10 heavens, and guess where God resided at? On the 10th, top of the 10th heaven. Okay, I'm gonna say it again because I kind of butchered that. So in the book of Enoch, there are known as 10 heavens. Okay, on the 10th heaven, in the 10th heaven, that's where God resides. What is God? He's supposed to be perfection, right? So that's where 10 was called perfection. Okay, let's see. The Egyptians expressed the number as 10 by the word mid, that is perfection, and the Irish called it Deag, which is Deag, a word of like meaning, and for this reason, the Chaldeans formed the Jode. Hold on, let me I'm gonna go take my dog outside real quick. He gotta go outside. We're gonna take an intermission. Let me it's just gonna be a quick thing. All right, I'm back. Oh shoot, I pressed the wrong button. All right, there we go. So let's see, where was I? Okay, here we go. All right, let's see. So like I said, the Egyptian called it mid, then you got the Irish Deag, Deag. And this, let's see, because this print is really small, so I have to really look at it. Let's see. A word of like meaning, and for this reason, the Chaldeans formed the word Jod, or number 10. Okay, which is basically a triangle. I doubt I'll be able to show you guys because this is a very fine print. Let me see. Yeah, it's too small to be able to even tell. I can kind of see it on here. It's like right in this area right here. Well, you guys won't be able to see. It's really fine print, but it's a triangle, right? Which is a pyramid, right? So that means ancient Egypt is known as perfection. If I'm going off the text, right, which was the symbol of perfection with the Egyptians, the triangle. It literally shows the triangle. Okay. And you can buy this book and prove me wrong. I mean, I don't have nothing to hide. I mean, I formed it up here. I mean, anybody can look it up real quick if they want to. I don't care. Screenshot it, zoom in, and do what you got to do. Prove me wrong. Also, the Mexicans, Chinese, and Phoenicians, and so on, and all this has something to do with it. So basically, we have 3 triangles that we know of in ancient Egypt. But that's not the only place that we have pyramids. Some of the oldest pyramids that I know of are considered in Peru, but there are more pyramids in Sudan than there is in Egypt. But so there's a whole bunch of places that's considered that has pyramids. You know, you got Bosnia, you got China, but like it says right here, it says, hence it stood for 10 with the Egyptians, Chinese, Phoenicians, and Romans. So I mean, you're going to find it in those places that are in those areas. So let's go to the next tab. Let's go to the next tab. Let's see. Let's see what does it say. This one. All right. Okay, so alphabets were originally made up of hieroglyphic characters, but it will presently appear that the letters of an alphabet were essentially different from the characteristic marks deduced from hieroglyphics, which last are marks for things and ideas in the same manner as the ancient and modern characters of the Chinese, whereas the former are only marks for the marks of the Chinese, which have been demonstrated by Du Howdy and others to be perfectly hieroglyphic. So yeah, I mean, we know hieroglyphics were in China. We know that they were in Mesoamerica, and we know that. Well, I can't say we. I know that they were in Egypt. So remember when? Here we go. Let me see. Let's see. Oh yeah, we gotta give a shout out to Garden Ministries. Yo, hey, Garden, I need to get you up here, man, one day, man. We gotta do it. You got a lot of information out there that I would like for you to actually share out there. But let's go back to let's see, where was it? Where let me see. Oh man, I can't remember where he did it. Oh yeah, here we go. Remember when Daniel Hopkins said that, talked about etymology? Well, that's what exactly this chapter 2 is. It says a little time ago, 2 systems of etymology was published. One by the Reverend Mr. Whiter of Cambridge, and the other by Mr. James Gilchrist. The former called his work Etymologicon Universale. It is very large and was printed by the University of Cambridge and at its press. The object is to prove that all words of every language may be traced back to the word earth. Let's go back and say that one more time. 1733, Godfrey Higgins says from his research that it is very large and was printed by the University of Cambridge. At its press, the object is to prove that all words of every language may be traced back to the word earth. Great learning and ingenuity are displayed, and incredible labor must have been bestowed on the production. The work of the latter gentleman, entitled Philosophic Etymology, is not so large and is a doctrine, is directly in opposition to the former. So we got an argument. We got an argument, right? Mr. Gilchrist contends that CL, CR, LC, and or RC is the primary simple word of written language, and that all the copy verborium are merely varieties and combinations of that one simple word, or rather, sign. One simple word, rather, sign. One. That's all they said. So there's no argument. You both agree that there's one. So just find the one that y'all both agree on and stop arguing. But they both gone. This was in 1733. They probably listened and like, oh man, yeah, damn, rebirth is right. Yeah, nah, I'm just joking. But here we go. Of equal or nearly equal date and almost equally disseminated throughout the world with the doctrine of the Trinity was that of the hermaphroditic or androgynous character of the deity. Man could not help observing and meditating upon the difference of the sexes. He was conscious that he himself was the highest in rank of all creatures of which he had any knowledge, and he very properly and very naturally, as far as was in his power, made God after the beings of the highest rank known to him, after himself. Thus, it might be said that in his own image, an idea made he his God. But of what of sex was this God? To make him neuter? Supposing man to have become grammarian enough to have invented a neuter gender was to degrade him to the rank of stone. Dang, they was talking about genders in 1733. Never mind, I'll keep that to myself. To make him female was evidently more analogous to the general productive and prolific characters of the author of the visible creation to make him masculine was still more analogous to man's own person and to his superiority over the female, the weaker vessel. How's she weak if she giving birth, man? Come on, push something out your body. No, I'm just joking. Let's keep going. But still, this was attended with many objections from a consideration of all these circumstances. A union of the two was adopted, and he was represented as being androgynous. God was androgynous. Oh Lord, they're gonna piss some people off. They're gonna piss some people off. If you ain't pissed off now, you pissed off at that, right? No, I'm gonna say. After a life of the most painful and laborious research, Mr. Bryan's opinion is that all the various religions terminated in the worship of the sun. Now, I actually did an article on this. Now, this is coming from Godfrey Higgins. For some of you that joined in, I like to read what's actually from the books. Here's the tabs right here. We ain't that deep in, so this is definitely going to be a two-part series. I already been an hour in, and I'm definitely not close to being done. But when every argument that I make when I'm on X or anything like that, I go to the sources, and the sources are these books. You know what I'm saying? I don't have time to sit up here and argue about what you think. I'm just telling you what I've read. What you think, that's your personal opinion. Now, if you think something that's stupid, sorry, I wanted to say that I think it's stupid. I'm sorry. People want to get trophies when they do something good. Why can't you be called an idiot or stupid when this time is right? Yeah, I know it's rude. I'm sorry, it's rude. How do you call somebody stupid? That's the right word. You're misinformed. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't talk like that. That's why I do what I do. And because I'm not worried about how I talk. Ooh, I just dropped my light from my book. But because I don't talk like that, a lot of people get offended. But anyway, after a life of the most painful and laborious research, Mr. Bryan's opinion is that all the various religions terminate in the worship of the sun. Now, like I said, I wrote an article on that. And it was the first representation of a god, the sun. And I say that because for the simple fact that, okay, plants need sun to survive, right? Photosynthesis, right? What eat plants? Well, chickens, cows, all these other animals. If you want a steak, I mean, you're going to make the animal's going to be probably, fed grain or some type of grass or something natural, right? So life depends on the sun. We need sun for all kinds of other things, right? That's just what it is. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So the sun considers and gives us a lot of life. Oh, I'm sorry. We are alive because of the sun. But anyway, let's just put it like this. When if you're going from a hunter and gatherer and you're depending on agriculture, plants, photosynthesis, you know what I'm saying? I don't know. You're going to pray that the sun comes out and does its job. So what's the first representation of a god? I don't know. Shit, the first thing that helps you grow your agricultural food. I don't know. I mean, I'm sorry, y'all. That's just how I think. I mean, if I'm wrong, let's have a discussion about it. I invite everybody to have a discussion. I ain't gonna argue with you. Those Jerry Springer days are over with. That's just to get the name out there. Y'all already know what I'm on. I don't even have it. There's no reason to argue with me, because if you tell me that I'm wrong, I'm gonna ask you for your source, and then I'm going to read your source, and then I'm gonna come back to you later on. And if you said something opposite than your source, then yeah, you damn right I'm gonna argue with you. I'm like, did you even read it in the first place? And if you said no, but I read it, I heard it in the Audible. Well, was you paying attention? Did you understand? Did you understand the paragraph before it? I don't know. The chapter before it probably led up to what you read just understood. Maybe this person is just bullshit. I don't know. Did you read it for yourself? No, then please keep quiet. Chapter 4 says, 2 ancient Ethiopians, great black nation in Asia, the Buddha of India, a Negro, the Arabians were Cushites, Menman, shepherd kings, Hindus, and Egyptian similar Syrian people from India. Okay, I'm going to just read the first paragraph. It says, in taking a survey of human inhabitants of the world, we find 2 classes distinguished from each other by a clear, definite line of demarcation, the black and white colors of their skins. Okay, in 1733, like I said, my ancestors wasn't allowed to read this book. So when I hear in 220, I don't even remember. I read this book, what, 5 years ago, I think, somewhere like that. And I read it like 5 or 6 times. When I read that in taking us, as a person that has both an African-American father and a German and Turkish mother, if I'm reading this and it says, in taking a survey of the human inhabitants of the world, we find two classes distinguished from each other by a clear, definite line of demarcation, the black and white colors of their skins. I'm interested because as a little kid, I always wondered why my mom was white and my mom pops was black. It wasn't something to be trying to say who came before the other. I don't give a damn. Both my parents, that's like picking which parent I love the most. That's crazy, right? That's like anybody that has kids, that's like you picking which child is your favorite. Some of you secretly got some, and that's kind of fucked up. But anyway, when I read that, it says this distinguishing mark we discovered to have existed in ages the most remote. If we suppose them all to have descended from one pair, the question arises, was that pair black or white? If I were at present to say that I thought them black, I should be accused of fondness for paradox, and I should find as few persons to agree with me. Of course, because there's slavery going on. Anybody gonna listen to this man? He's white man telling people that black people, they want to put him on the cross and burn him. But as the African Negroes do when they tell Europeans that the devil is white. Now, what African that came from slavery was saying that the devil was white? From what I understand, if you read any of my articles, especially from Reverend Cole Cock Jones, that was the apostle to the blacks, which is on my website. You can read that, which is under local history, that I did an article that I visited in Midway Museum. Yeah, I'm out there in the field doing this stuff. I don't just go to, I haven't been to Egypt and all that other places, and I'm definitely going to be there. But I'm going to tell you right now, I really believe there's a lot of history here in the Americas, more than there is over there. And I feel like there's more information that is sacred here than is over there. And the only reason why is because there was a reason why they came here first, or whether they were here first in the first place, like some people believe. I've heard definitely different arguments. But anyway, we're not going to get on that argument. But my point is, I'm reading a book that was published in 1733 that gives me the idea that what I've been taught from my school time frame, going to Little Whiskey, Georgia. Okay. Yeah, it's a racist town, or some kind of sort of. Well, I'll let you be the judge of that. Y'all go do y'all research on that. But this was a place I went to school to, and my ancestors that were slaves around this area didn't read this book. But this man wrote this in the 1800s, 1733, I believe it was, if I'm not mistaken. So, and yet no one except a West Indian planter will deny that the poor Africans have reason on their side. However, I say not that they were black, but I shall, in the course of this work, produce a number of extraordinary facts, which will be quite sufficient to prove that a black race in very early times had more influence over the affairs of the world than has been lately suspected. And I think I shall show why some very striking circumstances yet existing that the effects of the influence have not entirely passed away. Now, if you go research Godfrey Higgins, that right there would just turn a whole bunch of people off. This is page 51 of this book. So I can just imagine some people got to page 51 and said, fuck this shit. I'm not listening to this. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Their feelings, their problems, their hatred, their racism, all played a part with it. And it is what it is. But let me tell you something. If I'm going back and I'm reading something from 1733, I want to know everything. So I'm going to read this whole thing. I can tell you right now, if somebody in the 1730s seen this book and seen all these tabs that I have marked up, they would think I was crazy. And being the color that I am, they would definitely not even listen to me. But the point is if you really want to understand and you really want to do your due diligence and your research, and you sitting here saying you want to know the truth, how can you argue something that's facts? Now, if your argument and your feelings are in the way, prove something else. Give me a book that says what you're going to get. I'll tell you right now, Bruce Fenton ain't the one you want to go to. Because I can tell you right now, I'm gonna eat his book up. That dude is so crazy on trying to do the into theory Africa idea is ridiculous. If he would just take his passion or his real interest and apply it to actual text and tie it in science, he wouldn't be looking so stupid. That's why his ass blocked me. But I'm telling you, there's so many people out there that's trying to portray something that's ignorant. And I'm telling you, I'm just reading what it says. Show me something that tells me other than you. I'm going to the etymology. I got different dictionaries by me. I'm going off of that. I'm not going off of what your personal opinion is. And I'm not going off of the person that you find intriguing and reputable and respectable. I'm not going off of that. Because when I say, hey, if I pick up this Merriam-Webster dictionary, can their argument fit that definition? If it can't, then they need to go back to the drawing board. Because guess what? My idea, theory, and opinions can fit not only the dictionary one, but theirs. Neither one of them is left out. I leave both of them in there. Because that's where it comes with being intelligent. That's where it comes with being understandable. And knowledge is on a power that you don't have. I have that power. I know what to do. That's why I read from the text. And I know a lot of people don't understand that. And it's crazy. But you can't shut me down or shut anybody that down when they're saying, hey, I picked up this book and it says this. Can you argue this part? Show me something that's credible. Can you put in mathematical format if we're going to use math? No? Oh. Then you got to stop. You got to stop. You got to go back to the drawing board. The religion of Buddha of India is well known to have been very ancient. In the most ancient temples scattered throughout Asia, where his worship is yet continued, he is found black or jet with a flat face, thick lips, and curly hair of a Negro. Several statues of him may be met with a museum of the East India Company. Now, this is interesting. 1733, he says this. Okay. Was anybody able to debunk him? No, not since then, because you do find these descriptions and these statues that make Buddha look like that. I'm not the one that's arguing with you. You're arguing with yourself because you don't come with the facts. This is what they say. And that's why I did an article on black, which is going to come out, because what is actually black? And I go into a real good descriptive using etymology. And I did this at the perfect time. I mean, it's not going to come out till February for a reason. You know, it's Black History Month. So that's the perfect time to launch it. But here we go. He says, Godfrey Higgins, I do not use the word Negro because, what is it? Because, okay, here we go. Yeah, because the text is really small. It says, because they may not have been Negroes, though blacks, though it is probable that they were so, and I wish that the distinction to be remembered. Okay. Now there's a difference. That's why I wrote that article, because not everybody considers themselves black. But if you're looking at bones, they will say this individual is a Negro. Right? Now think about that for a second. Not everybody with black skin consider themselves black. But when it comes to identifying somebody as a Negro, they go to bones. Okay. Now there was a time, and there's still a time, when black people were called Negroes. Still. So this is just knowledge is power. But the country east of the Euphrates was called Kush, as well as the country west of it. And it says, thus giving the capital of Persia, Suzanne or Susiana, which was said to be built by the Memnon, to the Kushites or Ethiopians, as well as Ethiopia. Mr. Frey, in his vocabulary, gives the word Cus, C-U-S, which is a Hebrew word, as a word whose meaning is unknown, but the Septuagint tells us it meant black. Mr. High shows that it was a common thing for the Chaldeans to substitute the tau, T-A-U, for the shin, thus cut for Cus. Thus, in their dialect, the Cuthites were the same as the Cushites. Now, you remember where it says tau, right? Now, hold on, T-A-U. Now, this is why I say I'd like to go back to reading my stuff. And the reason why is because when you read more books and you actually do your due diligence and research, you tend to understand different things. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see. TAU. Let's see. I just want to bring this up. This might not come up like I want to because I have to. Like I said, I don't plan none of this stuff. All right, here we go. Let's see. This might be it. No, this ain't it. Oh man. Hold on. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Come on. It's got. Oh no, it's not coming up. He must have changed up his website. Is it? Let's see. Yeah. Oh man. Huh. This would be interesting. Let's see. Oh no, no, that's not it. That's not it. That's not really it. Yeah, let's see. Okay, here we go. Yeah, here we go. All right, so let's see. Where was it? Okay, yeah, here we go. When it talks about the Chaldeans, so I have a I'm trying to bring it up. I have a 1873 Bible, and it says the Chaldeans. And let's see, the Chaldeans, the hold on, I got to get rid of all this stuff that I got up extra on here. Let me get some of this. So the Chaldeans, Sumerians, and Babylonians were known as one and the same. And let's see if I can find it. Because I posted it on my, but anyway, they were all known as one and the same. And this is from my 1873 Bible. I actually did a discussion on it and on my YouTube. And it's in the beginning. It's actually what I read from my 1873 Bible. I think that's what it's called. And and, I give the little descriptions in there. So I think it was sometime in the beginning, and I'm not sure exactly when. But just to know that they are all the same, it just gives me a different idea of the simple fact that the similarities is not far-fetched because some of these people decided they were the same in the first place. Here's another one. It is probable that the Memnon here spoken of, if there were ever such a man, was the leader of the shepherds who are stated by the Manetho and other historians to have come from the east and have conquered Egypt. So when Bruce Fitton talks about into Africa theory, I would not argue the fact that individuals outside of Africa came into Africa. I mean, there's no argument in that at all. Like I said, Dr. Supreme Understanding actually talks about this book in his book. And it's so funny when I brought that up to Bruce Fenton, he actually got, oh yeah, that guy's not nobody, blah, blah, blah. But the problem is he actually agrees with you. He just doesn't agree with you that the Homo sapiens came from Australia or whatever place he thinks they came from now. But here in book 2, chapter 1 of this book, it says the ancient Persians of the religion of Abraham, first book of Genesis, the synergist conduct in the translatary of the Bible, Abraham acknowledging more than one God. Now, the part that says Abraham acknowledged more than one God, that's not hard for me to believe. And because of that is the Abrahamic faith came to about what I want to say about 2000 BC, give or take. And the source that I have for that, because I always keep this by me, is this book right here. And If the timeline goes back to about 2000 BC, that's around the time of the Anuna / the Anunnaki. The Sumerians called them the Anuna. The Akkadians called them the Anunnaki. And I'm not talking about extraterrestrials came from the sea. When you actually read the ancient texts for yourself, and I'm going to present that in the future, they say that they come from the depths of the sea. This extraterrestrial shit comes from Zachariah Sitchin. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people out there because they have a passion. But I can tell you right now, when I show them that the actual text that they say that they use actually says they come from the depths of the sea, it makes me wonder, which narrative are you picking, right? Okay. Because I can counter argument everything that they say based off what I know. I know I'm a nobody. I'm not somebody that they got millions of followers and this, that, and third. But I am somebody who's trying to figure out why the people believe what they believe. And I'm the person that literally shares the actual text. So if you say something, I'm going to be able to prove it back. I'm the person that will back you up, is what I'm talking about. Everybody always talk about, do you got my back? Do you got my back? I'm the person that got your back, right? I don't have to front. So when I read these texts and I even share with these people, hey, well, the actual text that you say that you use, they say that they came from the depths of the sea and not from some other planet. Why do you believe that? And it's because a lot of times it's because, for one thing, if they change their theories, they're going to lose followers. Every time I get on any social media, it's all about, thank you for these many followers. I'm going to be honest with you. I appreciate you following me, but don't follow me. Follow my sources. Look at my sources. Then tell me I'm wrong afterwards. Don't follow me. Follow the people that I recommend. Buy Godfrey Higgins' book. Buy all the individual books that I said what I've learned from this book, whether I agree with it or disagree with it. Yes, Bruce Fenton's book's going to be on that. It's going to be part of my podcast discussion. Why? Because I learned some things. I learned how I can see how somebody's trying to create a narrative that's not even there. And his book is the prime example. Bruce Fenton is probably the reason why Graham Hancock gets a lot of flack for racism, because a lot of people go after Graham, which I don't think Graham Hancock is at all. I just don't think that he tried to do somebody a favor like Bruce Fenton, and Bruce Fenton got a forward book by him. But when Bruce Fenton say stuff like there's no ancestors that live in Africa before 200,000 years ago, which I'm definitely going to show that's something stupid to say. It might hurt somebody like Graham Hancock, right? And I'm not trying to shut nobody down, but I'm just being honest with you. This is the honest truth. Bruce Fenton did himself dirty, and he hurt himself, and he probably hurt Graham Hancock too. And since he always wanted, and ever since Graham Hancock did that book for him, that blurb or whatever you want to call it, he's been trying to get him to have him another discussion. Like, bro, leave it alone, man. You might get that discussion because he might respect you, but he probably respects you only because he likes that you're looking for information. He probably don't respect you for anything other than, I don't know. But I'm just telling you, sometimes you just got to leave shit alone. If you're wrong, you're wrong. Go back and say that you said something wrong. Go back and say, hey, I was misquoted. If I go back and look, if you speak in English and you're trying to tell me that your definition of this English word is this, I'm just going to pull out the dictionary and see how accurate you are. That's all I'm going to do. So let's go to the next one. The histories of the creation, both in the first and the second book of Genesis, and the sacred book of the Persians, and in those of the Chaldeans, are evidently different versions of the same story. The Chaldeans state that the world to have been created not in 6 days, but in 6 periods of time, which is accurate because George Smith actually talks about it. The lengths of the periods not being fixed. The Persians also divide the time into 6 periods. In the second book, a very well-known account is given of the origin of evil, which is an affair most closely interwoven with every part of the Christian system. But it is in fact nothing more than an Oriental mythos, which may have been taken from the history of the ancient Brahmins, in whose books the principal incidents are to be found. And in order to put this matter out of doubt, it will not only be necessary to turn to the plates, to figures 2, 3, and 4, which there's no plates in here, taken from the icons in the very oldest of the caves of Hindustan, excavated, as it is universally agreed long prior to the Christian era. Now, I probably need to go buy another version of this book so I can see the figures, because this one doesn't have any pictures in there or anything like that. Okay, here we go. Dr. Shuckford has observed that in Genesis, Abraham did not call upon the name of the Lord as we improperly translated, but invoked God in the name of the Lord, I-E-I-E-U-E, whom he worshipped and who appeared to him, and that this was the same God to whom Jacob, Yokub, prayed when he vowed that the Lord should be his God, should be his God, not is, should. If you want more information, pick up this book and read it. I'm just giving you snippets, the trailer to this book. You know what I'm saying? But it does not seem to have occurred to any of those gentlemen that the words in question, al, alu, or al, A-L, A-L-E, and A-L-U-E, might be one, the masculine, and the two others, the feminine, of the same word, like God and goddess. They never seem to have thought that God of the Hebrews could be of any sex but their own, and therefore never once thought to the question. So of course everybody's gonna be like, "Oh, yeah, man, I'm a man, so my God is a man," right? The god Baal, B-A-A-L, was both masculine and feminine, and the god of the Jews was once called Baal. Don't shut me up, YouTube. I'm reading from the books. Please don't shut me down. I'm just fucking. I don't give a fuck. I'll go to Rumble. Fuck it. Anyway, the god Baal was both masculine and feminine, and the god of the Jews was once called Baal. Now this is 1733. All right. Learned Kershaw says, "Ooh, I can't speak that language, so I'm not even going to try." So basically at the end it says Lord or ruler of the hosts of heaven. Lord was Baal. I've heard it said so many times. Okay, here we go. Here is A-L-E in the singular number God, Alim, in the plural number gods. And here is Sodom, the plural number of another name of the deity, which is both of the masculine and feminine gender. I was reading, man. I ain't even got close to this, man. This is probably gonna be a 3-part. Man, that's why I say I want to keep doing this, because this book is interesting, though. This book is interesting. I'm going through another series too. No person who has carefully examined will deny. I think that all the accounts which we have of Zoroaster are full of inconsistencies and contradictions. Plato says he lived before him 6,000 years. Hyde or Prodiox and others make him contemporary with Darius Hystaspes or Daniel. By some, he is made a Jew. This opinion arose from the observation of the similarity of the many of his doctrines to those of the Jews. Now, what is the meaning of the complicated word Zoroaster or Zoroaster? Of this latter, I can make nothing, but of the former, which is the name by which he was generally called in ancient times, Mr. Faber, I think, has made Aster, Zur, or Seer. Here is the star or celestial body, Seer or Sur, S-U-R, which we shall presently find is, without any great violence, the celestial body, the bull, or the sun. Oh, this is getting deep, boy, I tell you. Hence, we arrive at the incarnation of the deity of the sun or of Taurus, a renewed incarnation that accounts for the antiquity assigned to him by Plato, and thus for the finding of him again under Darius Hystaspes. In short, he is a doctrine or a doctrine taught by a person. He was the founder of the Magi, who were priests of the religion of the sun, or of that being of whom the sun was the visible form or emblem. Well, yeah, dang, boy, that shit got serious, did it? Some people are like, man, what is he talking about, man? It's too deep. If you don't know the basics, man, you ain't gonna understand this. This is kind of deep. This is deep. But let's basically let me put it like this. Let me put it in basic terms. First representation of God was the sun. That's it. Every religion goes back to the sun, some way, some sort of, I don't know, idea, right? The people who were worshipped as the sun, or the people that were good agriculturalists, right? Or fishermen, because believe it or not, you just can't go out there any time of the day and throw your rod and line in the water, or your line in the water, and think you're going to catch a fish. You have to understand the celestial objects, right? Full moon is probably the best time to go fishing. When the sun is at its highest, that's probably when you want to stop fishing, right? Because the fish, certain fish, stay away from the light in many cases. So knowledge is power, and understanding is what you get it. These cherubim had the faces of the beings which were in the cardinal points of the zodiac. When the bull was the equinoctial sign, Vix, the ox, the lion, the man, and the eagle, these were very clearly astrological. So when people talk about the cherubim, right, you know, and they talk about these individual small creatures with wings or whatever, these were descriptions of north, south, east, and west, basically, right? This is not, and I'll read the whole paragraph. Every ancient religion, without exception, had Kabbalah or secret doctrines. And the same fate attended them all, in order that they might not be revealed or discovered. They were not written, but only handed down by tradition, oral stories, right? And in the revolutions of centuries and the violent convulsions of empires, they were forgotten. Scraps of the old traditions were then collected and mixed with new inventions of the priests, having the double digit in view of the ruling of the people and of concealing their old ignorance. Now, let me put it like this when I was talking about the cherubims. Though the adoption of the astronomical and astrological emblems of the Magi and the Egyptians may be no proof of the wisdom or sagacity of Moses, they are sufficiently clear proofs of the identity of his religion with the religion of the Magi and so on. Before the corruption, what are we to make of the brazen serpents set up by Moses in the wilderness and worshipped by the Israelites till the time of Ezekiel? What of the cherubim under the wings of which the God of the Jews dwelt? These cherubim had the faces of the beings which were in the cardinal points of the zodiac, and when the bull was equinoctial sign, visualizing the ox, the lion, the male, and the eagle. These were very astrological. So that's where we get the cardinal points, right? Take that for you want. If you want more information, read the book. But that's just, if you got questions, ask it. Just ask them. I'm paying attention to things. I do like that part. Marco Polo said the people of Sri Lanka have, yeah. I do remember that part. One problem with Godfrey Higgins is that he briefly investigates many claims without taking a single claim and going in depth. Yeah, that's true. He takes on a lot, and he does go in depth, but not for everything. And his books are, and I tell you, if you read his books, he actually had more information that he was trying to get out, but he passed away. This wasn't the end of it. He actually was sick, and this was actually, if I'm not mistaken, was published after his death, but he was actually going to do more. He actually talks about it in his book. So let's see. Maines lived long after both of them, and if it should be contended that he differed from them in any abstruse speculated point, this would not be admitted as a proof that he did not draw his doctrine from their fountain, when it is known that it came from the east of the Euphrates, and when it is evidently the same in almost every other particular. So this has to do, let me go back to see. Okay, here we go. I'm going to go read the paragraph before it says, it appears that the question respecting Pythagoras and Zoroaster was simply whether they or either of them admitted a first moving, uncreated cause superior to and independent of another, or whether they admitted two equal co-eternal beings, the authors of good and evil. The meaning of their expression used by these great philosophers must always remain a subject of considerable doubt. I don't know why I really did this. I guess it's because they're comparing Pythagoras and Zoroaster. Let me see something else. The ancient followers of Zoroaster are not yet extinct. There is a colony of them settled in Bombay, an island belonging to the English, where they are allowed without any molestation the full freedom and exercise of their religion. So Bombay is where they now. I have read that Zoroaster was one of the oldest religions, even older than ancient Hindu. And it says, I think it says something about what 6,000 years, if I'm not mistaken, in this book. So yeah, like I said, I know a lot of arguments. Let's here we go. To destroy, according to the Vedatas of India and of the Sufis of Persia, that is and it's a Greek word, or wise men of Persia, is only to generate and reproduce in any form, and in a doctrine they are supported by many philosophers of European schools. Now, this is what's interesting to me. I didn't know this at this time when I read this book, but wise men in Greek were also considered demons, which is interesting. Plato talks about it in his book Cratylus, and I actually talk about that. So I'm not sure why I actually, let's see. Okay, let me just read it. We may safely affirm that we have no experience of the actual destruction, the annihilation of any substance, whatever. On this account, it is the Mahadeva of India, the destroyer, is always said to preside over a generation. It is represented riding upon a bull, the emblem of the sun when the vernal equinox took place in the sign, and when the triumph in his useful strength over the powers of hell and darkness, and near him generally stands the gigantic lingam of Phallus. Okay. The emblem of the creative power from this Indian deity came through the medium of Egypt and Persia, the Grecian mythos of Jupiter Genitor, with the bull of Europa and his extraordinary title of Lapis, a title probably given to him on account of the stone pillar with which his statue is mostly accompanied, and the object of which is generally rendered unquestionable by the peculiar form of its summit or upper part. In India and Europe, this god is represented as holding his court on the top of the lofty mountains. In India, they are called Mountains of the Moon, or Chandari. I'm just going to spell it ChandRasicara, Chandrasekhara. In the Western countries, Olympias. He is called Trilothicon and has 3 eyes. Parsons tells us that Zeus was called Triopathalamus, and that previous to the taking of Troy, he was represented with 3 eyes. Okay, Zeus was represented with 3 eyes. As Mr. Forbes says, the identity of the 2 gods falls little short of being demonstrated. In the Museum of the Asiatic Society is an Indian painting of Krishna, Kristna, seated on a lotus with 3 eyes, emblems of the Trinity. So Krishna, Zeus all had 3 eyes. Now we know what the 3rd eye is supposed to be. It's supposed to be meditative state. That's why in the lotus thing, in the emblems of Trinity, got 3 eyes, right? 3 eyes. I'll probably mess it up. Yeah, I fucked that up. But anyway, it's crazy. In the Gita, Arjun is informed by Krishna, which is spelled Kreshna, that God is in the fire of the altar, and then the devout with offerings direct their worship unto God in the fire. I am the fire, I am the victim. So when people say I am who I am the fire, and I am the victim. A lot of people don't know that, but I'm telling you, I go back to the books, and that's why I love going back and refreshing my memory, because I know what I am. I am the fire, I am the victim. Man, I love reading. I ain't gonna lie. Boy, I love reading. The word am, A-M, O-M, or U-M occurs in many languages, but it has generally a meaning some way connected with the idea of circle or cycle, as empire, ambagus, or circle. This is particularly the case in all the northern languages. I need not name again the umbilicus nor the way in which this seems to be connected with the idea conveyed by the Greek word, and it gives you the Greek words. And then it says, Nunas says that the Babylonian Bel, B-E-L, and Libyan Haman were, and it gives you, I don't even know how to say these words. See that, man? I wish they would just, man, come on, man. You hurt me with this. The next tab, for he is the beginning of strength, the right of the firstborn is his. Again, in Psalms, we find it having the same meaning, and smote all the firstborn. In Egypt, the chief of their strength, and the tabernacles of Ham. In the 105th Psalm, in the 36th verse, it has the same meaning. So various derivations are given of the word own, O-N, or on, but they are all unsatisfactory. It is written in the Old Testament in two ways, A-U-N and A-N. It is usually rendered in English by the word own, on, O-N. This word is supposed to mean the son, and the Greeks translated by the word or soul, S-O-L, but I think it only stood for the sun as emblem of a procreative power of nature. It meant the beginning or the first exercise of his procreative power. That's interesting. That's interesting, y'all. Let's keep it going. Mr. Wolseley then proceeds to state that modern theologians have defined the three hypostases in the Godhead with great precision, though in very different words, but the fathers of the Trinithian Church were neither so positive nor so free from doubt and certainty, nor were they agreed in the opinions upon it. Yeah, that's not too hard to understand. The god Oromasdes, Omasdes, was undoubtedly the supreme god of the Persians, but yet the religion was generally known by the name of the religion of Mithra, or the mediator of Savior. Now, Christmas just passed. December 25th is when Mithra was born, okay? Mithra was born on December 25th. It's a Persian god. Okay, so when you celebrate Christmas, you're not celebrating Jesus Christ. You're celebrating that because that's who you want to celebrate it. But that day of celebration at that time, and even today, was because of Mithra, December 25th. Knowledge is power. Don't get mad at me. Go do your research. Don't get mad at me. 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 Do your research. In the same way, in India, the worship of the first person in the Trinity is lost or absorbed in that of the second, few or no temples being found dedicated to Brahma. So among the Christians, the worship of the Father is lost in that of the Son, S-O-N, the mediator and Savior. We have abundance of churches dedicated to the second and third persons in the Trinity, and to saints and to the Mother of God, but none to the Father. We find Jesus constantly called a son, S-O-N, or as according to the Unitarians, the Trinitarians chose to mistranslate the Greek, the Son of God. In the same way, Plato informed us that Zoroaster was said to be the son of Oromasdes, or Mistas, which was the name of the Persians gave to their supreme God. Therefore, he was the Son of God. Jesus Christ is called the Son of God, no doubt, very justly, if the evangelist John be right, for he says that everyone who receives the gospel, everyone in fact who believes in God, the Creator, has power to become a son of God. Okay. Jesus was known as Son of God, and like, hold up, and just like hold up, let me say, just like evangelist John be right, for he says that everyone who receives the gospel, everyone in fact who believes in God the Creator, has power to become a son of God. So everybody can be like Jesus, and God told y'all I shouldn't say God. Jesus told y'all. God did through Jesus and Jesus. Boy, let's just keep going. In reply to this, I shall be told that Philo Plotinus, who or was a Plotinus, to be sure that he was, because recondite Kabbalistic esoteric Judaism was the same as Platonism. Who have been correct as probably to have said that Plato Hebraized, for as it is evident that the Israelites held the doctrine of the Trinity, where was it so likely for him to obtain it as from them? Okay. I think the Trinities part was what I got. I don't know. Y'all can take what y'all want from that. Let's see. Okay, soon after Krishna's birth, Christnas, he was carried away by night and concealed in a region remote from his natal place for fear of a tyrant whose destroyer it was foretold he would become, and who had, for that reason, ordered all the male children born at the period to be slain. Krishna, and Christ. That's why I tell people, if you just actually follow the stories and you can prove me wrong, then I'll go with it. Upon the plea of the interpolation which Sir W. Jones has used to account for the extraordinary similarity in the lives of Jesus and Krishna, and which Mr. Morris has allowed, happy and ingenious as it is, to be altogether unsatisfactory, and may be asked, what could induce the Brahmins, the most proud, conceited, and bigoted of mankind, to interpolate their ancient books, to insert in them extracts from the gospel histories or sacred books of people very nearly total strangers to them, very few in numbers, and looked on by them with such contempt that they would neither eat, drink, nor associate with them, which if they had done, they would have been contaminated and ruined by becoming outcasts from their order, people who came as beggars and wanderers, soliciting a place of refuge. It cannot be pretended that the Brahmins wish to make converts, for this is directly contrary to their belief and practice. The books in which their interpolations are found, we attained from them with the greatest difficulty. They have every appearance of every great antiquity, and found concealed in the recesses of their temples, evidently built many centuries before the Christian era. And though the books in which they are found are sacred or scarce, they are sufficiently numerous and spread over sufficient extent of contrary to render it impossible to interpolate them all. If they had been so disposed upon the impossibility of interpolating the old Hindu books, I shall treat it at large hereafter. That by Osiris was meant the sun. It is now allowed by every writer who has treated on the antiquities of Egypt, Mr. Morris, as the reader states him to have been black, in that Nineveh, or sacred bull of Heliopolis, the symbol of Osiris, is also black. Osiris is allowed also to be the Siva of India, one of the three persons of the Indian god Brahma, Vishnu, or Krishna, Siva, of whom the bull of the zodiac was the symbol. Like, man, I'm telling you, just reading these books from 1733 is crazy. The ancient name, as we have said, was Sir or Siri. Don't go off on the name, the same as Osir or Osiris, who also was always black, after whom it was called, and whom was meant the sun. Thus it was called the river of the sun, or the river sun, or the river Osiris, as we say the river of the Amazons, or the river of Amazon. And the river flowed from the land of the sun and moon. It arose in the mountains of the moon and flowed through the land of Sir, perhaps the land of Syriad, where Josephus was told that columns had been placed which were built before the flood. Manetho, 300 years before Josephus, says that these columns stood, and from these Josephus took his history, which was inscribed on them in the sacred language and hieroglyphic characters, language and character, evidently both unknown to him. These columns were probably the Egyptian monuments, pyramids, or obelisks. Okay, so columns, pyramids, and obelisks could literally be the same thing. So when people say, and I have an 1873 Bible that actually has information about the pyramids in there, right? So this is what people need to understand. Just because you hear the word pyramid, somebody might be like, well, that's considered a column, or that could be a pillar. So now you got to go back and do all your research that has those three things in there and be like, okay, were the pyramids really ever mentioned in the Holy Bible? And if so, how? I mean, like I said, the ancient Egyptian pyramids aren't the oldest ones. You know what I'm saying? There's some in Peru that are considered older, right? And then the ones in Sudan, right, could be the test subjects of all those. Who knows? I don't know. The river Nile in Sanskrit books is often called Krishna. I'll say that again. The river Nile in Sanskrit books is often called Krishna. Now I'm going to read out what it says Sanskrit. It says Sanskreet. So when I read these books, I try to pronounce exactly what's written. And I know it sounds funny and you probably hee-hawing and laughing and all that shit. It's funny to me too, because I'll be like, damn, Sanskrit. Like, damn, I know so many different ones, and that's why I get tongue-tied. But laughter is the joy of life, so keep laughing. Mr. Maurice says, per se, diem vocant. Surya is the name of the solar divinity of India. It is also the name of Osiris. Mr. Bryant says, as the god of the Egyptians went by the several names of Apis, Scrapis, Nif, Osiris, and so on. So did the god of the Hindus. The word sable or black was one of their epithets. Thus, Christ is, in like manner, an epithet of Jesus. He is called Jesus, the Christ, the anointed. The adoration of black stone is a very singular superstition, like many other superstitions. This also came from India. Buddha was adored as a square black stone. So was Mercury. So was the Roman terminus. The famous Pessinutian stone brought to Rome was square and black. The sacred black stone at Mecca, many of my readers are acquainted with, and George IV did very wisely to be crowned on the square stone, nearer black than any other color of Scotia and Ireland. Come on, man. I'm just sharing what's reading. Man, don't be mad at me. Be mad that you didn't know this. For the people that's mad at me, not for the people that's like, yeah, this is interesting. I'm like, yeah, me too. Shit. Osiris and his bull were black. All the gods and goddesses of Greece were black. At least this was the case with Jupiter, Bacchus, Hercules, Apollo, and Ammon. Now, I know a lot of people will get on Netflix and see all these new things, and they seeing people with my skin tone, and they're like, Cleopatra ain't black. This ain't that black. This ain't black. Man, 1733, Godfrey Higgins was talking about this stuff. Okay, 1733. Okay? Now, like I said, my ancestors weren't able to read these books, right? But the people that have this skin color today are able to read these books. So when they become a director of any show at all, okay, listen to me. When a black director becomes in charge and credited for making a show, and he reads this book and he's like, hey, I want to put this in my show because this is something that I wasn't taught, but this was taught in 1733. I want to put this in my show for other people to becoming aware and understanding that the history we're told were lies. Only the racists come out the woodworks and say that this was crazy. Okay, just like they did with Godfrey Higgins. But if this is actually if you can actually prove this or disprove this, then do it. Don't get mad and get under the Netflix comments and X comments and this, that, and the third and say, oh, everybody's trying to make everything black. How? I'm a black man reading a book that's from 1733s that's talking about this stuff, and I'm sharing it. I'm wrong. How? Prove it to me. Let's get on Zoom. Let's get on StreamYard. Let's get on live stream. You pull your sources out. I pull mine out, and let's go from there. But you in the comments saying this, that, and the third ain't going to do nothing because guess what? I'm only able to go off of what I've read. Give me something that you've read. I just keep going back to that, right? Because that's what it is. That's what it is. Let's see. In my Celtic Druids, and I have his book. This is from Godfrey Higgins. He wrote the Celtic Druids. I have shown that the worship of Buddha is everywhere to be found in Wales, Scotland, and Ireland. Who, H.U., the great god of the Welsh, is called Budwas, Buddwas. And they call their god Bud, Budd, the god of victory, the king who rises in light and ascends the sky. Okay, sun god. In Scotland, the country people frighten their children by telling them that old Bud, Bud, or the old Man will take them. In India, one of the meanings of the word Buddha is old man. Somebody black is going to take you. Like I talk about this in my upcoming article. In this inquiry, it seems of the first consequence to ascertain the meaning of the word Buddha from the examination of the accounts of the different authors. This celebrated word appears to have the same meaning as the word of Genesis, that is, wisdom, or extremely wise, or wise in a high degree. Mr. Cruiser gives it savant. Now, a lot of y'all know who I talk about savant syndrome a lot, and I talk about it a lot. Sage intelligence excelente et superior. He says it allies itself or is closely allied to the understanding, mind, intelligence, unique, supreme of God. Now, look, the first representation of a God was sun. A lot of people will consider that to be the black. What can help? What keeps people from burning up? The black skin. That's why a lot of black people don't get sunburns. So yes, some black people get sunburns, but not as the degree as Caucasian white individuals. Now, I'm going to go back to savant. I always talk about this all the time. All these extraterrestrials, aliens, I respect a lot of individuals. I'm not going to name any names, but they're white individuals who have black wives, right? Or a black spouse, right? And they go around talking about extraterrestrials coming from outside of planet Earth. And most of the time, there's no credit to black people at all. Godfrey Higgins wrote in 1733, giving these credits to the black people. Well, a lot of extraterrestrial fans will say that something outside of Earth gave these Africans or indigenous people who have melanin skin the intelligence to do what they did. That's a slap to anybody's face, right? Because first of all, not only are you taking away credit from humans, you're sitting here saying, yeah, your black heritage has always been known as derogatory or bad thing, but we're going to make sure as your spouse that I'm going to sit here and make sure that extraterrestrials get credit over anything else. Now, I'm not trying to start an argument. I'm trying to give you facts. Now, savant syndrome is an individual who's so intelligent that they can do things to the point where their brain can calculate mathematical equations faster than a calculator can, or a computer, right? They can also fly 15 minutes in the helicopter, look at a city, and literally draw it on the canvas with accuracy better than Google, right? There are also individuals who can play a piece of music just hearing it one time. Also, there are individuals who can do mathematical equations in their head and apply it where a computer can understand it and recreate it. That's why we get a lot of certain things that we get today. My point is that when you look at extraterrestrials, sometimes it could be these individuals who have savant syndrome. If you know anything about the Sumerians talk about creating humans. When a lot of their creations, they had a lot of humans that felt their initial perfection of what they call creation, meaning that there were individuals who were blind but could play a piece of music very well. Or there was a person that couldn't hold their urine in but could remember things with like photogenic memory type things. Or there was individuals who couldn't walk but were able to create a form of transportation for individuals, right? That basically these individuals had a disability, but these gods, the Anuna / Anunnaki, not from this planet, from outside our planet Earth type shit, but these individuals looked at these people with these disabilities, and instead of making them be doing things that other individuals do, such as agriculture or hunting or farming and things that they couldn't do, find another task for them to be productive and feel like they have a purpose in life, right? They were given the opportunity to give back, right? They were able to do things, right? And with savant syndrome, these people could be the reasons why we have all the inventions that we have. Because remember back in the day, and then particularly in the movie Trojan or 300, where the Spartans and all these other individuals, uh, they would, if a child came out and they looked or felt like they were disformed or had some type of disability, they were sacrificed. They were killed off. They weren't allowed to be brought to. I mean, this is in their midst too. This isn't just in the movie. They didn't allow anybody that has a disfigurement, or in some cases, because money talks, some children were able to survive, but they weren't able to be a warrior or certain things. So my thing is this: while people are out there looking at extraterrestrials, why aren't you looking at the people who have savant syndrome? You give so much credit to aliens doing this, that, and the third. I mean, what did aliens really give us that was so technological advanced that we as humans can't recreate today, right? It's crazy. The time might not seem fitting, but it can be accomplished. And that's why I say, a lot of these individuals, and my mom is white and my dad is black. So I'm saying this with my own experience. I see a lot of white guys or a lot white women who are married to black individuals who would give credit to extraterrestrials faster than they would give credit to their ancestors. And they don't even know the first mathematical equations came from people from Africa, from a woman that was menstruating. That not a woman, women were menstruating. The best way, right, to keep the community going, the tribe going, and keeping it alive and keeping it from danger is understanding a woman's menstruating, especially when you're a hunter-gatherer. Think about that. I don't have to go in depth for that. Anybody that wants knowledge can look at that and see that. Women were the reasons why we have mathematics in the first place. But like I said, these guys, they look for extraterrestrials so quick. They slap, and their spouses don't think of it like that. Why? For what? Why? They making money off of this. But deep down, I'm telling you that it's so disrespectful, because I couldn't look at my father and be like, oh, my father was the first thing, and look at my mom as secondary. I want to know what the truth is, and I want to know what everything else is in between that. And is it a genetic mutation, which SLC 2485 is why my mother has Caucasian skin. So I go off of my experience. I ain't got a dog in this fight. I don't even care if aliens came here. If everybody's so concerned about aliens, why you ain't teaching people how to defend against them? You know so much about them, and you know what they are capable of. Start teaching people how to defend against it. But let's not get off board. I apprehend the rishis or rishis, when the word is applied to men, are the rashish. They are said to have been 7 in number, and the Pleiades were dedicated to them. But I shall return to this subject hereafter. Now, when I hear about Pleiades, if you read the Popol Vuh, the 400 voyagers are the reason why we got the Pleiades system. It ain't extraterrestrials and all this other stuff. Man, I'm telling you, just read the Popol Vuh. The Popol Vuh, read anything from the Taino tribe. Okay, they talk about Pleiades being a time for agriculture. Not some aliens come from some planet. Okay, tell me where the text says that at. Here we go. Look, Shiva was worshipped as a black stone, not Buddha. Yeah, and that's interesting. That is interesting, because I've also read that too. What's up, Mike, Dave? Hey, I got some collaboration with Mike and Dave Multiverse. I did a couple of podcast discussions with them, and we're going to be taking some trips together and stuff out there. So look out for them. If you can, subscribe to their YouTube channel, look for their emblem and all that stuff. Give a shout out to them, Mike and Dave Multiverse. What's going on? Now, this is interesting, and this is why I like Daniel Hopkins when he said what he said, because the next tab that I read was, the mother of Buddha was Maya, M-A-I-A, who was also the mother of Mercury. A fact of the first importance of this Maya or Maja, M-A-J-A, the mother of Mercury, Mr. Davis says, the universal genius of nature, which discriminated all things according to the various kinds of species. The same perhaps of the myth of the Egyptians and of the Orphic bards, which was of all kinds and the author of all things. To this, Mr. Wither adds, to these terms belong the well-known deities Buddha, Amida, The Foab of the Chinese is acknowledged to be the Fod or Buddha of the Eastern world and the Mercury of the Greeks. He then gives the following passage from Barrow's Travels. The Buddha of the Hindus was the son of Maya, and one of the epithets is Amida. The Phao of the China was the son of Moya, and one of the epithets Omito. And in Japan, whose natives are of Chinese origin of the same god Fo, is worshipped under the name of Amida. Now, I have a book series, Chinese and Japanese myths, and they say in the book that they are both one and the same, so that makes sense. So 1733, when Godfrey Higgins, or I believe it was 1733, I'm going to say, when this book came out, there's still information that backs him up, because that's where I found it at. Buddha was often said not only to have been born of a virgin, that's why some people believe Krishna, Buddha, and Christ are the same, but to have been born, as some of the heretics maintain, Jesus Christ was born from the side of his mother. He was also said to have had no father, right? This evidently alludes to his being the son of the androgynous Brahmi Maya. Okay, this is supposed to be described in the Prince and Morse pantheon, where Buddha is rising from the navel of Brahmi Maya with the umbilical cord uncut. Now he gives you sources. This is what Godfrey Higgins says. Okay, like I said, this is why some people believe Buddha, Krishna, and Christ are one and the same. Because why? Because they were both born of a virgin and they both didn't have any fathers. Now, the question is, how many people in this world right now in 2025 can be considered that they ain't got no fathers that's supposedly born? Hey, Murray. Hey, you remember that show, Murray? How many of them said you are not the father? So which one? Hey, the mother don't know which one the baby daddy is, right? But let's keep it going. Let's see. Mr. Cruiser observes that the images of Krishna and Buddha are so similar that it's difficult to distinguish them. And the group pictured above is acknowledged by Mori in his Hindu pantheon to be applicable to Buddha on the knee of his beautiful mother Maya. Now, like, this is a reprint, and I don't have any pictures. I would show it. But it's just interesting to know that Krishna, Buddha, and Christ are probably one and the same. This is not me saying this, y'all. I'm reading what I've read from a book that was published, written in the 1730s from a man named Godfrey Higgins. Now, let me tell you this, 2 hours in, Godfrey Higgins is somebody that I inspired to be. This man read 6 to 10 hours a day, researched, and shared what he did for 6 to 10 hours a day. Now, that's hard to do today because of social media. I like to play video games. Like I said, if you want your ass whooped in Mortal Kombat, join me, GI_purple/_heart, and come play PS5 or PS4 or whatever you got Mortal Kombat 1 on, and let's get it going. But anyway, it's hard to do that. So I take pride in reading, researching, and sharing what I did. Like I said, everything I'm sharing is from these tabs, from this book. This is every book that I own in my library is like this. You know, a lot of people, they take their books, they highlight it, underscore, but you have to go through page. I ain't got to do that. Look, if you want to talk about, if I sit here and tell you somebody right now, I put $1,000 on everything that I know, right? And I said, I got my sources, you got yours. I'm just going to pull this book out right here, and we're going to go through every single one of these. It's 2 hours in. And I ain't even had no arguments from anybody, and I still got that much to do. So, of course, it's going to be a many-part series, right? But I'm just telling you, I'm going to go straight to my library everywhere because I got books everywhere. You know, not in the back, you know what I'm saying? This, you know, I like The Simpsons. I'm a Batman. I have Batman because I'm a detective in this, you know what I'm saying? My military stuff, you know what I'm saying? That's when I was on a mission, you know, that's right there in Iraq, you know, 2003, you know what I'm saying? That's when I joined, was in Fort Benning, Georgia, you know what I'm saying? But anyway, I go to the sources, and if you want to take anything that I say and say that I'm wrong about something, I'm just going to tell you this. And then I can take every book that I have in my library with every one of these tabs and back up what I say. So it's not hard. I mean, I've been doing it already. Let's see. Colonel Todd says there was an attempt to lift the veil from the mystery and from the sea of redemption of lost science and or original source. This I answer, my good learned and philanthropic friend, I only have done. The allegory of Krishna's eagle pursuing the serpent Buddha and recovering the books of science and religion with which he fled is an historical fact disguised. True, and in its meaning is so clear it requires no explanation. The cave at Gaia, which means the cave of Gaia or the earth, because remember, every word is supposed to go back to earth. I said that a while ago. It is written Heru, who is Buddha. Here, the Colonel says that Krishna and Buddha in characters are conjoined. This is true in the mean, and they mean Buddha, who is Heru, and Hiri, who is Buddha, historian. Rashpatutna. Okay, so let's keep it going. I'm about to end this in a minute because it's been 2 hours. Like I said, it's going to be a two-part series. Yo, hey, Mike and Dave Multiverse. Yes, we are friends. You know I show receipts. Check their stuff out. Hey, show your link on here. I'll promote it. Show all your stuff. I'll promote it right here. Mike and Dave. Everybody can take a screenshot. Do what you got to do. I show receipts. That's why I have the books in front of me. Everything I do is under fair use. This is a review, y'all. I'm reviewing what I've read. This is what I read. Tell me what book to read, and I'm going to go read it, and I'm going to tell you what I know based off of what I researched. Let's keep it going. A certain order of persons called Stamenians are noticed by Porphyria and Clemens Alexandrinus. I do not doubt that these are the Samankodamites of Siam, and the Buddha called by them their leader to the Buddha of the Siam, who as Surya with the 7 heads is the sun and the 7 planets. 7 planets. Now, most people know that as Pleiades. Let's keep it going. The name of the most ancient bull that was united with the first man, Ki Yumath, is said to have been Abadad. But Abadad, like the Abatu of the Japanese, is plainly nothing more than Abu Dat or Father Buddha. But this is not the only proof of the Buddhism of the Persians, according to the Satir or Mashani. Mahabad, i.e., the great Buddha, was the first king of Persia and of the whole world, and the same as the Tripolitan Mithras. Like I said, Mithras. If you study in Mithras, you know who Mithras is. Buddha boom, bada bang. You know that's you celebrating Christmas on that. Buddha in Egypt was called Hermes Trismegistus. Lycophron calls him Tricephalus. This speaks for itself, as we have seen that Buddha is identified with Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Buddha in Egypt was called Hermes Trismegistus. Now Hermes is also known as Thoth, which is also known in Gazeta in the Sumerian text. Sumerian text. Man, I'm about to end this. Let's end this here. We got a lot to go. 2 hours in. I'm not trying to keep it going. I'll start it again tomorrow, same time. Like I said, all my information comes from here. I'm not going to sit here and give anybody any false information. I'm just going to give you information that I read. If you find it false and you think that I'm giving out false information, call me out by any means necessary, please. But this is Rebirth of the Word. Be on the lookout for more stuff. I'm going to do this more often. Hey, look, if you want to have a conversation with me, I'm trying to get more people involved in this. 9 to about 11:30, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock will be a good time. I'm trying to create a show. People putting together what they've read. You know, I can read some 10 things, 20 things from here and get some ideas. I just want to build a collaboration of individuals that have knowledge, not somebody sitting here trying to argue that this couldn't be done and that couldn't be done. Tell us why it couldn't be done, and tell us why, from what I just shared to you, why what I told you that it could possibly be done, why it can't be done. So I just want to share information. I ain't in it for the money. I'll tell you right now, I do have Cash App and all that other stuff. If you want to donate, ask me personally. I'm not going to promote it. If you want to hook me up, by all means. I'm saving up for a GoPro right now, because when I go to these next locations from this point on, I plan on going live stream. So meaning that I'm going to there's this vest that they have that I can put my phone right here. And of course I got my camera and I'm going to take photos of. And I want to live stream when I visit these museums and these certain places. So like with Mike and Dave's multiverse, which we're going to link up and go to different places, I want to be able to record exactly where I'm there. You know, I don't have the money and funds to do half the stuff that some of these people do. But if I did, and when I eventually go to Egypt and Mesoamerica, and I'm going to start here with what I'm doing here, I'm going to live stream myself going to these places. It doesn't take much for anybody to do that. Or at the bare minimum, I'm going to record it, right? And upload it raw, uncut, right? Because I want people to be able to see what it is I'm actually going to see. I mean, we already watch people doing stupid shit all the time, but if it comes with knowledge, why is it stupid? So I'm planning on doing it by any means necessary, showing everything that I possibly can. You know, I want to give a shout out back out to Lil Vibe. I appreciate the music, man, and giving me the right to use your music, man. Hey, listen to his music. Everything is great. I love his music a lot. Mike and Dave's Multiverse, give them a look out. Put your stuff out there, man. Um, if you next time, hey, if you can, real quick, put your links up there. I got to give out to Daniel Hopkins. I follow him on Facebook, and man, it's a lot of stuff on there. Like I said, we're gonna make this big. I'm going to try to make this big, and hope with the help of Mike and Dave, we can fund each other, because you know everybody that you know that does what they do, they have sponsors. So we got to sponsor each other. If you find somebody that's out there doing their due diligence and really want to get in the nitty gritty of stuff and put in their all into the research and all this, that, and that, no matter what it is, you know, link up with them. I mean, if you're already doing it by yourself and putting your funds together, I mean, shit. I mean, with the sales and all this other stuff going on, I mean, we could do so much better and bigger things. But until next time, y'all, peace out. Y'all, knowledge is power, and keep it up. Read books. Hey, if you ain't reading the books, I don't know what you're doing.